Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kim from The Perfect RIA. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow Up Friday, where I'll be covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. Now, before I get into today's recap, if you're enjoying our episodes, we'd love for you to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast, and even share your favorite thing in your review. We love to hear your feedback. So let's get into this week's recap. On Monday, Matt and Micah were talking about prospects, and Matt shared that when he's having prospect meetings, it reminds him more than ever why he and Micah started the podcast, because it would so often see advisors and hear from others how you're supposed to meet with a prospect, but then they try those things and fail miserably. It was this realization that the only people who know how to do a prospect or client meeting are the people who are actually doing them. This all led to the podcast and the Perfect RIA coaching programs in a way that Matt and Micah could share with others what they're actually doing and what's actually working. The guys talked about what works and what doesn't work in prospect meetings with this idea that advisors get objections from prospects and clients, but what they've come to understand is that these objections are really just questions. They said you need to frame what you're doing and come into a client or prospect meeting with an open mind of curiosity about what their questions are, and that you're focused on delivering value. So this isn't about technical skills, it's about the ability to communicate. It's easy to let your ego get in the way and take questions as a personal attack. But remember, this is about someone's life savings and whether they have money or run out of it. This goes back to setting proper expectations and communication standards when you're onboarding a client. Micah said that he wants to give his clients permission to push back on him, and he makes it clear that if they have a question or something doesn't make sense, then they can push back because his recommendation should always line up with their goals. Matt said it's great when you give people permission to do what they already had permission to do. It's their money. They have every right to raise objections, but by you saying it, you're granting it again. This again goes back to how your ego can get in the way, because if you're irritated by a client asking questions, then it's all on your ego. Micah shared that he used to get offended by this, so he understands how it can happen, but he's changed his mindset and his approach, so now he loves getting those questions. They also brought up that prospects and clients may bring up a word and you might assume that the client understands what it means. Matt shared this example with his most recent prospects who all asked if he was a fiduciary. But he said they all used it in the wrong context and they all described it differently when Matt asked. So whenever a client says things, you need to figure out what it is that they're actually saying with those words. Because it's likely that what they're saying and what you think they're saying isn't the same thing. Another thing Matt and Micah said advisors can miss in client meetings and prospect meetings is having fun. You want to be excited and curious in the conversation. So make sure that you're bringing energy to that meeting. There's a balance between the technical knowledge and communication skills, and with your clients and prospects, it's almost entirely communication. So if you don't have that energy and you don't seem to be enjoying the meeting, imagine how the prospect or client feels, and are they thinking that you don't want to be there? This goes back to those 3 Ps, being personable, profitable, and productive. Micah said that you have to hit that first P, because if not, then the others don't matter. But he wants his clients to feel the same way and look forward to those meetings. Another time that this comes into play is with the confidence that you have in your recommendations. If you know that your recommendations completely align with your client's goals, then you should be confident about them. So what about advisors who don't have years of experience to back that confidence? Micah said to consider whether you are doing the things that you're recommending to clients. Then also make sure that what you're recommending is clearly the best way to help your clients meet their goals. The guy said you can't predict the future and you can't guarantee anything, but you can look at opportunities and see which path is the best one until and unless something else becomes available. Let's get into action items. Think back on your last few prospect and client meetings and write down what you thought were objections, and then look to see what it was that they were really trying to ask. Look at what you're recommending to clients that you're not doing, and then go and do that. And then text RIA to 55123 to get Belay's ebook on virtual assistants. On Wednesday, Matt was joined by Evan Mayer with Fortuna Wealth and the host of the For Advisors by Advisors podcast. Evan shared how he started his podcast, which was just a way to educate others without a script and to have advisors talk shop and have others take some ideas from it. He said they've had people on that manage a wide range of assets, and what's nice about that is that you can hear from each one of them what makes them unique and what makes them successful. He added that AUM is not a level of measurement for success. It can mean that you're probably making a decent living, but it doesn't mean that you're a good financial advisor. Evan shared his background and how he started in the business and then moved forward with getting his CFP. Once he learned all the ins and outs, he started focusing on how he could help add value to clients. And he said once he did that, his business multiplied quickly. He commented on when he hears from advisors who claim that they just don't have time. He said, you have time. It's just a question of where you want to spend your time. Evan shared that when he's meeting with clients, which he said it's quarterly for about 85% of them, he's doing 3 meetings a day, and what his day looks like both in prepping for that meeting and what he's going over with the clients. He said his meetings can be as short as 30 minutes and as long as an hour and a half, and he usually has someone else in the meeting taking notes and managing any updates. Evan wrapped up by pointing out how consistency in his day helps keep him on track with his business and with his family life as well. He said Monday through Thursday is work while he's in the office, but he's making sure that he has time with his family each day and doing things that he loves to do Friday mornings and weekends. He mentioned that he does transcendental meditation 20 minutes before going into the office, before he even leaves the house, and then before he leaves the office as well. He compared this to getting all of your files in order and getting things organized in your head, and he said it allows him to be present and clear his mind, and he credits this for a lot of his success. For Wednesday's action item, be sure to listen to Evan's podcast, For Advisors by Advisors, which you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts, and we have that linked in our show notes from Wednesday's episode. On Thursday, Jamie was talking about the effectiveness of marketing, and that there tends to be two camps with this. Those who love it and spend time playing office, but don't actually move the needle, and those that just hate it. She shared how she was recently working with a medical client of hers who was building out a new offering, but that they asked that they not start marketing it yet because it just wasn't ready. She said the error in thinking this way is that you have this expectation that if you do something small, then you're going to be inundated with business and clients, and it just doesn't happen that way. She said you really need to look at what you're doing 6 months prior to when you want to see those results. Jamie talked about how they handle marketing at Shalansky & Associates, where they have a very niche market with federal employees. At the top of their funnel is doing a lot of content because it brings them prospects who want to learn more about what they're sharing, and this is where they're establishing their credibility. She also talked about the importance of understanding scarcity and supply and demand with your audience, and that you should always be thinking about this when it comes to marketing. She said once you start creating and sharing content, you should never go and check out that video as soon as it's published because you're going to get so focused on likes and comments and then up judging yourself against unrealistic standards. Jamie said you want to focus on answering people's questions to deliver value to them consistently and regularly. And the more you do that, the greater following you're going to have. But another key to this is that you have to be disciplined about putting out your content. And with your team, everyone might see something slightly different, but the overall message will be the same. And then after you're being consistent with your content and messaging, and that it's being reinforced, at some point it's going to trigger something in someone, and they'll realize that they need your help. You never know what will change in someone's life. She said that information is only urgent when it's necessary to someone. Jamie recommends at this time to have your marketing calendar laid out for the entire upcoming year, and that you need to be disciplined about the cadence for putting out content. Because if you're sending out client newsletters or publishing content only when it means something to you, then you're only going to get results sporadically, instead of creating trust and dependability with your audience that you're always there. And now here's a tip from Jamie. If you're trying to figure out what topics you should be talking about, then take questions from your clients. She said your clients are your best source of gathering information about what you should be talking about. Let's get into action items. Listen to the episode that Jamie did called Niche Slapping Time, which is linked in Thursday's show notes. Have a marketing content calendar laid out for the entire year. And lastly, you have to be disciplined about what you committed to do. That wraps up this week's recap. Thank you for joining me, and please share this or any of our episodes with another advisor or a team member who you think might benefit from listening. And until next time, happy planning.